session is called How We Can Regrow the Fellowship. And we want to really take a good look at this because you know where we've come from. And we've got such dedicated people in full gospel, but it's dwindling because most of us are the older generation, and we have not had great success in bringing younger people in. Part of that comes from leadership training and accountability and doing what is needed to do. Leadership is the most critical thing for any organization. An organization cannot exist unless it has leadership. And we have, like so many other large groups and large corporations, we have some problems in leadership. And it's not because people want that or they are purposely neglecting duties. It has nothing to do with that. What it has to do with taking things very seriously and understanding, which is what I want to try and do today, that being a leader takes real effort and special ability. And the reason I say that, as a corporate executive for 35 years, I saw so much very, very poor leadership in so many companies, both client companies and companies that I was an executive in. And I used to try and do breakout sessions for those corporations. Some would come, some didn't want to hear it. But leadership takes three elements. It takes time, people skills, and commitment. Now, time is something where when you have a meeting, you have training, you have appointments, you have anything like that, you set a time and be there on time. I can't tell you how many times leaders set meetings and then they're just not committed to it. People are sitting there waiting for them. They don't come. It can be very annoying, and it makes people a little antsy because their time is not looking like it's valuable to their leader. And that's what it does. People don't understand that they may not be thinking that would hurt anybody. They'll just wait for me. But it makes them think, this guy doesn't think my time's worthwhile. And that's not true necessarily, but it could be. And it takes people skills. People skills is, and we're going to talk about it in a minute, is an ability to get people to do what they need to do, what you want them to do as a leader. And so many people have Zippo people skills. I tried to, and I did, teach people skill training in a number of corporations. And it was like, for some of the guys, it was like, or women, it's like a light went off, and they got it. But so many, and I'm going to tell you, 85% of corporate American leaders are deficient terribly in people skills. And it takes a commitment, the third thing. Now, when I want to get back to people skills, is that corporate America, and maybe corporations around the world, I know there were some of them that I dealt with, they think that once you become a leader and higher up, you lord it over people. Human beings, for some reason, have this, a good percentage of human beings have this inside feeling that now they're the boss. And people are going to do what I say. And I'm not going to, move, I'm not going to worry about what they think. I'm just going to dictate because I'm in the position where I've got that power. And it's a power play. And I saw it over and over and over, and it used to drive me crazy. When I was an executive vice president of a big corporation, I had a number of vice presidents under me. And the first thing would happen, I had whistleblowers that liked me that would call my wife. They wouldn't call me. And they'd say, these vice presidents are want to get rid of Dick so they can take his position. And I'd come home and she'd tell me, and I'd say, honey, I don't care. And she said, why don't you do something about it? I said, I don't care. If they make dissension, I'll fire them. They won't be there long enough to worry about it. But if they're better than me, I'll give them the position because I want what's best for this company. I don't care whether it's me or them. A leader's got to do what's best for what he's trying to lead. And so I was trying to teach people skills, and the way that was, if I walked down the hall and I would hear a vice president or someone on the phone with one of the branch managers, and they'd be reaming them out and giving them orders and doing this, I'd wait till they were off the phone, I'd say, come with me. And I'd bring them back to my office and I'd close the door because I never got on someone's case in front of others. And I'd say, I want to know a question. Do I talk to you that way? What way? The way you were talking to your branch manager? No. Next time I hear that, you're fired. You are here to serve those people. Leaders are servants. They're not God. And I don't want to see that again. And they'd walk out of there, and some get it, some wouldn't, and I'd fire the ones that didn't get it. It was that simple. It had to, because they cause dissension if you don't take care of that. So the commitment and willingness to accomplish the task is a place where when you accept a position, with a position and with a title comes responsibility. And responsibilities have got to be taken seriously. People can't just do whatever they want to do. The organization falls apart. I've seen so many corporations go down because of selfish people. They were in it for themselves. They weren't in it for the company. I was always a company man, and I meant that what I said. If I saw someone who I thought was better to take my position than myself, I would give it to them because I wanted what was best for the company. That's what I was being paid to do. So leadership is critical to the growth of an organization. And if you're not having growth, look to leadership to begin with. How to get people to do what you need them to do through people skills. I love people skills, and I love teaching them. I wrote a book on it. It's because so many people don't have them. And if you're a leader, you need to learn them. Be lighthearted. You know, Jimmy Rogers used to raise his eyebrow at me because I was making jokes all the time, and once in a while he thought one was off color. He'd look at me and I'd say, I'm sorry, Jimmy. But I believe in lightheartedness. I believe we should be, let's not be so glum, you know. Let's make things enjoyable for people. So I used to joke too much, and I still do to this day. But I made a joke in one of our meetings the other day, and I thought, oh, I went a little far on that one, but that's me. All right, and the next thing is ask for ideas. Don't dictate. You know, I used to come in and take over a corporation. The first thing I'd do is I would bring all of the leaders and all the managers and branch managers into my home office, and I'd have them in a big room like this, and I'd say, okay, I'm not here to change a thing. I'm here to find out what you're doing right, and if we find things that are doing wrong, we're going to improve them. So I'm not here to can anybody or to do anything. I want your ideas. I covet what you think. And if you give me good ideas, we'll put them into practice. If I don't agree, I have to make the final decision. So if you don't give me good ideas, I'm not going to put them into practice. So that's just people skills. People love it that you want to hear what they have to say. So many leaders don't do that. They don't care what you have to say. I'm going to tell you what you got to do. Openly praise all who perform. I used to make a big deal out of going where everybody could hear me to praise a branch manager or a vice president or someone under me that was doing the job well. And I would go and say it right out loud, and I'd say, oh, what a great job you did. I'm so happy you had this to do and you did it. It not only makes them feel good, but everybody else feels good about it because they see you're rewarding something that's been done right. Hold accountability, offering your help if needed. Now, when I saw things that were not being done right, I would criticize in public, in private. I would take them into my office and close the door where no one could hear me, and I'd say, look, you had this job to do, and you didn't get it done. Now, I'm here to help you. I'm serving you, and I want you to listen to what my suggestions are, tell me what you think about them, and then we'll put this back together. That's people skills. And so I could have just said, you didn't do this right, you better get this right or you're out of here. I can't tell you how many times I saw that in corporate America. That was not me, and it should not be any good leader. You work with your people and let them know you're there to help them. So people skills is one way to get leaders to perform and be appreciative that you're giving them a chance to redo what they may have done wrong. Now, self-evident truths, this is true for just about everybody here. Every director in this room was selected, elected, or volunteered for a director's position. So, once a person accepts a position of leadership, then they need to know with that title comes a responsibility. You don't just get a title, you don't just get to sit around, or your whole area is going to fall apart. Folks, we got a lot of that going on in this fellowship. We got things falling apart because we got directors, state directors and stuff, either they're too infirm to keep up, don't want to do it, whatever the reason might be, none of them are good. If you take a title, there's a job that comes with it, and you're expected to do it. All of us possess the ability and skills needed to do the job, but that doesn't mean we use them properly. And so when we don't, we should revisit like today and look at that and say, okay, what can we do better? What have we been falling down on? How do we get this going? And you can't believe the difference that makes. Everyone with a title should realize the responsibilities come with it, and not everyone is accomplishing those responsibilities. I can tell you that as the national administrator and part of the NEC, we have got several or more state directors that need to step down or do the job. You know, we prefer they do the job, but I understand, look, you get old, you get infirm, you just don't feel like you can do it. That's fine, there's nothing wrong with that. Admit it, and let's replace that person with someone who's willing and has the energy and will do the job. That's what leadership is. It's not taking a title and not doing what needs to be done to keep the place growing. And that's why so many chapters have been dwindling and so many things have not been growing, because our leadership team is not doing the job. Let's take a look why. National Director is a title of distinction, or State Director, and it denotes a position of responsibility. It's a place that gives you an honorable position, but an expectation that what goes with it is getting the job done, doing it regularly, and being good at what you're doing, and if you need help, ask for it. A national director must decide if he has the time needed and is willing to do all of the duties of that job. If not, a man who can has to replace him. No one should hold on to a title if they're not willing to do the job. Just they want the title. I've known many in the past that were like that. And when I talked to them, I'd say, brother, will you step down? You're not doing this job. You don't seem to want to. You don't seem to have the energy or the desire. That's fine. Step down, help us find someone else to do that job, and you'll be invaluable to them to help them with advice and so forth for what you've done in your past. It takes courage for people to step down from a position of authority. But that's what's necessary for a leader. A leader's got to know when it's time to go. And our leadership, the state leaders are responsible for identifying chapter leaders and then training them to do the job and to build their chapters. Chapter presidents around this country, so many of them, they never hear from their state director. In Georgia, we had a guy, I won't mention names, Nobody knows who the state director was for the last year and a half. Didn't know because he wasn't doing anything. Great guy. Great man of God, let me tell you. Ministry, big ministry. But I tried to say, brother, this is the job you have accepted. You got to do this. Oh, I know. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. He just never did. So I was asked to step in for the interim period until we find someone who wants to be the state director in Georgia. But the first thing I did when I took over that position is I called all the chapters. I went out to all of them. I gave a talk to all of them. And I paid for everybody's food for a meal at every one of those meetings myself. And just got them pumped up. So regular and timely communication with chapters and the national office is just critical. And the national office can't get a hold of our own state directors half the time, or they don't return. That shouldn't be an option. You got to get back. You got to communicate. We need to know things. So I want to review what the responsibilities of the state directors are, and this goes for directors in general. In our organization, the first job is to help and organize chapters. See where you can help out the chapter president, see where he needs help in recruiting people, getting new people in, offer materials, meals, whatever you have to do, work with your chapter presidents to build the chapter. The state director should recommend the granting of or revocation of a chapter. They recommend it to corporate. This chapter's dying, I can't get anybody to do anything. And then corporate's going to have to realize, all right, well, we'll step in and help. Or we may be convinced in a certain area or something that this chapter's just, we have nobody, and we're just going to have to let it go for now and hopefully rebuild it in a little while. State directors are to visit existing chapters and lovingly and constructively advise them as to their strengths and weaknesses. You watch something, you see what's going on. When I was a corporate executive, and I am the same way with Full Gospel, when I see something that I should be taking care of, I will talk with them, and I won't be nasty about it at all. They're volunteers. It was much easier when people were paid. But volunteers are volunteers, They mean well, but they're not always doing what they should. So I would try and find out what was their problems. And I said, you talk like this is just dark and done. It's not. God's in the midst of this. We can find the way out of this. We can make it work. Let's identify the problems, and then we're going to find a solution for those problems. That's what we need to be doing. They're to act as a chairman or co-chairman at rallies, conventions, and camps. Many of them do that. They're to moderate chapter elections. Many of them don't do that. I'm pro and con with that sometimes because there are some very competent chapter presidents who can handle their own elections without a state director there, but our bylaw says state directors are supposed to be there. So we want them to participate once a year as elections. They should participate in that. They're to assist with speaker recommendations, to get good speakers to come to the chapters. Assist with fundraising. If they have fundraising things they need to raise money for, they're to get together with a group of Full Gospel guys and say, let's try this for a fundraiser. And we can get some money we needed to better our outreaches and our ministries. They're to be available to answer questions or solve problems of all their chapters that are under them. They're to help organize rallies, conventions, camps, and regional conferences. And they're to supervise their field reps if they have field reps. This field rep's job is to help develop the chapters under the state directors. We don't have a lot of field reps. We have some. We used to have a lot. We may need to look at state directors first build that back up, and then move on to find some field reps so we can rebuild chapters. That's the responsibilities of the state directors. And I've said to a number of them I've talked to, I said, if you don't want to do all that, that's fine. God bless you. It's time for you to step down and let's find someone who wants to do it or can do it. Some of them can't do it. They're infirm now and they can't get out and do those things. There's not a thing wrong with that. Let's help them find a replacement. I want to give a testimony of my recent visit to the Georgia chapters. This is something that when I took over as an interim state director, I immediately started with what hadn't been happening. And so I called the 4 chapters. We set dates on a calendar. And I said, I will pay for everybody's meal at your chapter and anybody else that wants to come in. They don't have to be members. We hope to get new people out of this. Invite anybody you want, and I will pay for their meals. Now, that was just me. People don't have to do that. I just felt I had enough money to do that. And so I started with the meetings. And I went with, it was a Holy Spirit pumping gifts and the movement of God that people could trust in. And so I gave a motivational talk, each one of the chapters I went into, about the power, Holy Spirit's power in all of us, and putting his giftings was a powerful way to minister to people in need. And that's what our chapters are supposed to be doing. And it was very well received at all of these chapters. I finished with the Holy Spirit power as we would promote its use in full gospel businessmen, and spoke of the ministries available in the fellowship, meetings, Godmobile, prison ministries, and a lot of these people didn't have a clue there was those ministries that they could be a part of if they wanted to. And this is why they weren't communicated with. It wasn't that anybody didn't mean to let them know, they just didn't do it. I invited everyone to join the fellowship if they weren't members. And in the Conyers chapter, the first place I went, 10 or more people joined that day. And I think it was 13. And these people really got fired up because I used to do motivational speaking. I gave them a real motivational speaking about the power of the Holy Spirit and gifting, and that they had it, and that God wanted to use them to do all these things. And they got pumped, and a whole bunch of people joined. One of the chapter presidents at the coming chapter, he got the word out. I mean, this guy put the word out that I was coming to speak at a restaurant and that everybody's meal would be free. And we filled the room. It was the biggest attendance they ever had. Now, I grant you, many of them, yeah, you were there, Mark. Many of them did it for the meal, of course. But as I talked and gave this same kind of pump speech, people got motivated. Remember, a lot of people were coming up to me and they were saying, boy, did I need to hear that? And I want to join. And, you know, we didn't have 10 there, but I think we had 4 or 5, I believe, signed up that day. And also at these chapter meetings, many came to be prayed for after the meeting. Why? Because I was talking about the power of the Holy Spirit and how in chapters we're supposed to do that. You know, we're supposed to use that power. In the Atlanta chapter, which I'm president of, I tell people all the time, I say, we never close the meeting until we offer prayer for needs, that people have needs for healing, fine, whatever their needs are. We want to pray with you before you leave. And I said, I can't guarantee you an answer or win an answer. I can guarantee you the prayer of faith will be prayed. You know, and then the rest is between them and the Lord. It's not up to me. This meeting of state directors with their chapters should be done hopefully quarterly, if not at least biannually, where they get out and they have meetings, and they have meetings prepared in advance so that people can come and know there's going to be something going on with the Holy Spirit in that. And some of the guys do a real great job of, Coming Chapter did a real great job of promoting that. That's why they said it's the biggest meeting they ever had. This says, good news for those who need to step down. Lack of commitment, lack of desire, or drive to do what's necessary only means it's someone else's turn, and it's not a cut on anyone. Folks, you volunteer, you do the job. When you can't do it anymore, be honest and admit it. And we will help you find a replacement. We're not trying to cut you down. We're trying to get the job done. Don't be concerned in finding someone to take your place. It's a team effort and not just your responsibility. I say that to say, in my state, if someone wants to step down, I will be right in the midst of helping them find someone to replace them. The relief of stepping down and turning the responsibility over to another will lighten the load of those who need to step down immensely. Their life will be better, but they won't cut them down at all. They'll be a member of the fellowship, and they'll be invaluable for what they can bring to the new leaders from their experience. Every director should self-examine and decide what is best for the fellowship. Every director. That's another job. Decide what's best, and if you can't do the job right, be honest and talk to us, and we will help you find a replacement, and it's no cut at all. So, there's a lot of things about leadership I can go on about. That's all I had for this particular meeting. I said it'd be about 30 minutes, and it is. I want to open the floor just to see if there's any questions. Anybody have any questions about any of this? Okay. Well, the last thing I want to say is, folks, we need good leaders. And if you're not a leader and want to be, please let us know. We are always looking for good leaders. And when a leader takes a position and we help him, if we have to help him with some training or whatever he wants, we're going to see he gets what he needs. And we're going to put the Holy Spirit right in the midst of it. And they're going to see some wonderful things happen. That's how the fellowship grew in Demas's day all the way up to this heyday. You know, people inviting people to the different chapter meetings, following up. Listen, one of my shortcomings is following up, and I have made a commitment to change that. We got to follow up with people who visit and let them know how glad we were they're there, welcome, and ask them to come back again. That's how you get members. Instead of just letting them come once, bar none. Most of the people that are visitors to us, they come up at the end of the meeting, they say, man, that was great, I love that. Well, please come back. Oh, I will. Never hear from them again. And it's because my follow-up guy is 87, and he just can't do it anymore, and I haven't taken up the reins to see I do it for him, and I'm going to do that until I find someone to be another membership chairman who will follow up with all the people. But if we get this interest structure together, and people start doing this job, we're going to see this fellowship start to blossom because people need God and the Holy Spirit. And when they find people who are real believers, I can't wait to get to meetings like this and to chapter meetings and to other meetings just to be with people who are like me, Spirit-filled, love God. And when people can start feeling that themselves, new people, they're going to join. Boy, I went to my first full gospel meeting in 1977, and I'm here still, 48 years later. I'll tell you, if people see what they want to see, and if they're treated with people skills, invited, ask what they think, get their ideas, we're going to grow again. And we're going to be a much better fellowship than we've been over the last few years with things going down. We're going to reverse this. And this is the first way to reverse this.